Yeah, man. So I just found out today that one of my former students was murdered yesterday,
Wow,
35th Street in Savannah, Midtown Savannah. That's on the
wow,
west side, 35th and Florence in Savannah, Georgia. They found him.
wow.
They found him with bullet wounds, and he
Bullet.
they found him dead. And it's crazy because it's becoming a regular occurrence here in the Savannah, coastal Georgia area. I think
Okay.
now Savannah's at 7 murders already, um, this year. And what's really crazy about that is most of the murders that are happening are young people, people under 25.
Wow.
Um, but it's become such a regular occurrence that our young people, people that you touch, that you've taught, that you've had in your classroom, end up, on the slab at the morgue. And,
Man.
it's really impacting me as an educator, and my mental health and other people as well, because at the end of the day, we still got to go to work. We still got to teach these babies. We still have to do our job and provide, the best educational opportunities that we can for young children in our school districts. But it's become hard not to teach the curriculum, but just knowing that you can see a child one day and the next day not, and not because they're not showing up to school or they're skipping class, but because they might be dead. You know.
And look, man, Nick, man, we just started the show, and they call us. Hello, everybody. Once again, my name is Robaer Washington. I'm the host of the Robaer Report. The 8 o'clock show comes on Monday nights. So happy to see you all today. Welcome to Black USA News, where we talk about on the Robaer Report an individual and his or her contribution to society and the society's development. That's the mission of this program. Today, of course, is March 14th. I'm so happy to see you all who are watching on today and for you all who will be watching on the future broadcast. Now, today I'm bringing on one of my good friends. Technically, we've been knowing each other 25 years probably, but as adults, we've been knowing each other probably about 20 because we met really at Howard, but we knew each other since we were children. So this is my good friend, my cousin, Ralph Nicholas Brown. Mr. Brown, as what they call him in the school, is what we'll be discussing today. Is a teacher in Georgia, in Savannah, Georgia, in the Savannah, Georgia area. If I got anything wrong, he will check me and he will let me know
Yeah,
what's going on. You see him suited. You see him suited up, got the tie. You see the Phi Beta Sigma in the background. Man, Mr. Nicholas Brown, man, tell us how you doing, man. Tell us what's going on with you day. How your day?
man, my day was actually good, man. I was very happy to come in the classroom, get to work, engage my students, and just be productive. Super happy about that. Every day I get to see my students is a good day. You know,
Okay, awesome, man,
so
awesome.
no complaints, man. Super blessed.
Nick, I call you Nick. Some people call you Ralph. I'm gonna call you Mr. Brown for purposes of this show because you're educated. Is that fair?
That's fair, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Brown. All right, Mr. Brown. What I want you to do is I want you to shout out your school district. I want you to shout out your administrator, over your superintendent, your principal, who else, if you comfortable doing that, just so they'll know, like, hey my. So you know how it is. We from the south. He from Georgia. I'm from Mississippi, but
Let's
his
go.
grandmother lives in my hometown. His yeah, we'll get to all that another day about how we know each other. But man, give them a shout out, man. Let them show them some
Oh
love, man,
man.
on the
Okay,
show.
so I'm currently working in Liberty County Schools at Snelson Golden Middle School. I want to give a big shout out first to my team. We call ourselves the Regulators on 8th grade hallway. But on top of that, my administrator, Dr. Anthony Johnson, and my superintendent, Dr. Franklin Perry. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to work in Liberty County. Before that, I was teaching in Savannah Chatham Public School System. Um, I had a great time there. I used to teach at Durham Middle School on the west side of Savannah. Got a lot of love for the west side of Savannah and a lot of my babies there. Before that, I was in Macon, and I was in China, and I was in Durham, North Carolina, in Baldwin County, which is Millersville, Georgia. So I'm back in Georgia. Very happy to be here in my home state teaching what I love, which is Georgia studies, Georgia history, social studies. So that's history, civics, economics, and geography.
You know,
Absolutely.
so I got, I'm a top myself too now. I ain't know, we know we went to college together at Howard. We both graduates.
Let's go.
We both graduates of Howard
Let's
University.
go.
We're gonna say that. So he got his master. I think he's working on his second master now. Is that correct?
I am. I am right now in educational leadership.
Okay. Okay, I got my master's in sociology. He was political science and undergraduate at Howard, and
That's
so
right.
one of the things that I liked about Mr. Brown was interested in that social science, social studies, and civics. Man, that's not really discussed. That's not really focused on by the masses in general. The study of social studies in schools. Man, that's very important. Man, why did you choose that track?
Man, first of all, like I love politics. I've always been intrigued by politics and who gets what, when, why. The science of how things work when it comes to resources. Who's gonna have, who's not gonna have. Why? How can we actually change that as citizens? Can we truly make an impact? Because growing up, people like, man, my vote doesn't count, or this doesn't count. Why do I have to do this? Well, that's your power. So I wanted to learn more about my power. And where else should I do that? Shoot, I went to Washington, D.C. to study government, and I think that, again, Howard University was a big part of my experience in learning about national government. But shoot, I learned a lot about this Georgia thing, in practice here.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Man, I want to give a big up to his leadership in this school system. Thank y'all for equipping him to, with what he just discussed about what goes on in Georgia in regards to the social science. So when we first started this show today, Mr. Brown, you were involved in a conversation. Well, you were talking, I was just listening, but we had been talking about some things. The show started, and you were talking about one of your students who tragically is no longer with us. Give that brother a moment of silence, or that brother and those sisters moment of silence because they're no longer with us and they're young people. All right. So take us to a place. All right. It's a Tuesday afternoon, 3:30. You're on bus duty. You see your student get on the bus. That student, you say, hey, man, I need you to study for this test. We got a test tomorrow. They say, all right, Mr. Brown, I'm going to get to it. And you know good and well, they not going to study. They ain't going to, because that student.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Right, sometimes. So 6:45 in the morning, you throwing on your necktie like you got it on. You rushing out the house, and the news break. Mr. X Jones found murdered 2:30 in the morning. You like, this is my student. Damn. How do you process that as a teacher? That your student, who you're going to see first period of the day, will not be there. As a teacher, how do you set the tone for your class that day?
Man, it's 6:45. I'm already en route to work. You usually don't hear about it, immediately. Gauging, from my experience, it's been usually like the day after, a couple days after. You might have heard something from a student first, or you hear from a teacher or someone who's connected to that family. They let you know what might have happened. And there's no real way to stage the class for that. I think that becomes a big part of why it gets hard to cope, because you realize that you have, a classroom of 20 to 30 kids. And shoot, this year I have 100 kids that I teach in my classroom. Then you have those other students that you touch, that you talk to every day. They might not be in your class, but they're still yours.
Right.
So you're trying to think, who all's close with that student? Who can I, make sure I give a little extra attention to? How do I give them that attention? I don't want to smother them. I don't want them, it's hard, man. Even just talking to you right now, it brings me back to a few different times where I've been in that position, and sometimes you have to shut down some things and try to focus on that, that social emotional learning, and
Okay.
check in with your kids. Are you okay?
Are you
Before
okay?
before they get into class, like, how you feeling? If you need to
That's
talk to
right.
me, and the school systems have things set up where you might have extra counselors or something that might be on location or something that day. But do the kids know how to get to the counselor? Are they
Right,
familiar
right.
with the counselor? Do they feel comfortable talking to that counselor?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Brown, you're an educator, and I hear it in your voice because your conversation now is not self-interest. Your conversation is, I ask you about what do you feel at 6:45 in the morning, and how do you set the tone for your classroom?
Yeah,
And you
right,
talk more about how your students are reacting or can react to the situation. But you
right,
didn't so much talk about yourself. All
right,
right. And when I say yourself, I'm not talking about Mr. Ralph Nicholas Brown, Mr. Brown. I'm talking about yourself as in the X amount of hundreds of thousands of teachers who are in this nation called the United States of America. Can't talk about the rest of the world right now. Really,
right.
I don't want to talk about the rest of the United States. I want to talk about Georgia, where you are.
Yes, sir.
All right. You have to help your child out, and then you have to help yourself out. What does that look like? Is there support? Do do you have to go to the therapist that's basically set up for the students on your lunch break to and it might be 10 other teachers out. How do you, in your mind, how do you process that? Because that's a new concept right there of teachers receiving help.
Absolutely. Man, I got to be honest with you. When it comes to it, man, I haven't utilized some of the resources because I am so focused on those kids, man. You know, um, Again, I have no natural children of mine, but those kids are mine. I
Mm-hmm.
like they're my family. Again, I speak to my students more than I speak to my own family.
Mm-hmm.
So they are part of my extended. So I pray a lot. I have a wonderful wife, and she's an educator as well. So we kind of go through things together. We support each other, and honestly, like the both of the schools that I've been at since I've been, or the schools that I've taught at since I've been in the coastal Georgia region,
Mm-hmm.
they've become that family too. We try our best to support each other. Sometimes you need that shoulder to lean on. Um, I've been that shoulder. I've leaned on shoulders as well. Um, I'm gonna tell you the truth, man. Like, I've gone through some stuff this year. I have a great administrator at my school now who,
Awesome.
honestly, open door. If you need to talk, anything on your mind, take it to him. I love the leadership. But again, like, I'm in Liberty County now, which is a little bit different than Savannah Chatham Public Schools, which is more of an urban environment. Of course, I'm out in the county. I'm out
Okay.
two counties away from where I live. But
Okay.
when I was in Savannah, it was, you have things set up, but you have to be comfortable, and your admin has to be comfortable and has to
Mm-hmm.
be plugged into the community. Um,
Okay.
I think that's very important for taking it out of the classroom when it comes to administration. Are you plugged in? Are you tuned in? Do you interact with the students, with the family? Do you really
Mm-hmm.
can you really truly provide that support, or just if you need to talk, I'm here. Like,
That's right.
I mean, I could talk to you know a therapist if it comes to that, and that's something that honestly, um, I think a lot of teachers, I think it's time that we do,
Okay.
especially in that urban environment, we do seek some therapy or some type of something to help with our mental health, because it's taxing.
That's
you know
right. That's right.
very taxing, brother.
Wow, man. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was going to talk about what happened on this channel last month. Were you saying something else?
No, man, go ahead, brother.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Last month was mental health support month. And I had I had two licensed social workers, and I had a psychiatrist on the show. I had a book publisher as well, but two LCSW and a psychiatrist. And the discussion was more about them and their profession, but it was kind of broad. It wasn't the time to bring it down to focus on a specific area. And that's the goal with this topic today. all right, we're talking about the teacher and their mental health support. We're
Yes.
talking about youth and them losing their lives and how it impacts the teacher. But
Yes.
Nick, Mr. Brown, one of the things I'm learning, man, is murder. A child being murdered in the street, that doesn't stop the education from going, man.
It keeps going, man.
It keeps going. And so like in the school day, all of these students have lost their friend, or they may have had an enemy. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not getting into that part. But how does the days, if you were the counselor and you had to organize, and I'm throwing this question at you. I'm kind of just asking you to think on your feet. If you were the counselor and you had to talk to some of the teachers, not the students, the teachers, what are some things that you would say as a counselor to a teacher about how you're going to help them throughout that day? What are some things you think that a counselor would say to a teacher?
I got to say this to start it. Like, I'm not trained as a counselor at all.
Right.
So I honestly, like, I really don't want to speak from a counselor's perspective too much. I mean, those counselors are professionals in what they do.
Right.
But trying to take a stab at something, I wouldn't even know where to start. I wouldn't even know where to start with any type of program for that shoot, man. It's even thinking about it, is troubling, because it's something that we have to face. But is this something that you're trained to do? As a counselor, as a school counselor, are you trained in grief counseling? You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Are you trained in just academic counseling as well? And again, even this whole social emotional learning item that we're seeing in schools. I mean, you really started hearing about it a lot more since this pandemic.
Right.
But I mean, what about this situation with losing these kids on the regular? Are they receiving that training? And if not, like, how do they get it? Can we provide some of that training to classroom teachers as well? And not saying as counselors, but just to prepare us to deal with it, because it's become the harsh reality, that we're living now, and we do face day to day. Because again, death doesn't stop education. Murder doesn't stop education. And you're still going to have your standardized testing, your state testing that you have to prepare your students for, so you can make your annual yearly progress, so you can meet these state guidelines, because that's important still. We have to justify what we're doing and make sure that we are ensuring the best educational opportunities for our students. But shoot, sometimes it becomes a bit too much, because you're dealing with losing a family member. That's what I really want to stress. Our students, as a teacher, and I can't speak for every teacher, but for the teachers that I've worked with over these years, in the schools that I've worked in, our students truly are our family.
Right.
So you're losing a little nephew, a son, a friend, even a mentee, someone that you're training to one day take your place, or to take the place of the bank president, the whatever they want to be, and that's tough, because now it's like that little spark, right, when you're reaching one of your students and you're really starting to see them love the material, or buy in to what you're selling them in class, because we truly are salespeople. I got to sell Georgia studies, Mr. Brown. How I'm gonna use this in my real life? And we learned about the tourism industry, man. You might want to set up a business. You could do this. You could do tours. You could set up a virtual tour experience for people and get this money.
Right.
And you're, oh wow, and then they're gone.
That's right. Oh, man.
Tough, man.
Wow. Man, I'm sitting down talking to you about it, and it's impacting me. So I never dealt with growing up. I grew up in a small town in Mississippi, Starkville, Mississippi. Shout out to Starkville Public School District.
Octavia Hall County, let's go.
Octavia Hall County, So we really didn't deal with I don't think I ever had a classmate or anybody in my school murdered, but people died, natural causes, maybe car accident. And so that was a moment of grief that we had to overcome right there. So I do get dealing with death in that sense. But when you're talking about violence right now. And so as a teacher, sometimes teachers have to make house calls. If the teacher is comfortable with that, they don't have to. They just may want to go to the house, see what's going on with the home. Not because anything's wrong, but because they may just want to check in with the parent instead of having the parent come to the school.
Right.
How comfortable are you as a teacher with going to a student's home, considering the environment that the child may live in?
Man, that's good, and it's funny you say that. During my time in Savannah, teaching at Durham Middle School, man, like I just used to love the community. I love the west side of Savannah. That was where my students were from. Sometimes after school, I would just walk with the kids. I'm off duty. I'm walking. Where y'all going to? Where we going? Oh, that's your house right there. Let me holler at your mom real quick. Oh, you didn't do your homework? Oh, yeah, you didn't do your homework. Okay. Hey, mom, hey, I'm Mr. Brown. Yeah, you met me before. I haven't met you. I didn't see you at the open house. I just want to introduce myself. I love having your son, your daughter in my class. They're doing a great job. I really need your help, though. I really need your help. Is there a way that you can make sure they get that project in by tomorrow? It's already a day late, and I was gonna call you, but I just figured since I was over here, I might just want to stop by and meet you and talk to you so you can see me, as well. Because that lets them know that you have that vested interest in their child. You could just make a phone call or send that certified letter from school if they're failing. But sometimes they get it better even if you're in their environment. They're comfortable. They see that you're part of their community, that you don't mind, walking through their neighborhood. You don't mind being a part of the neighborhood.
Okay.
Just being active, going to the park, going on the weekend, maybe shooting the hoops with the kids or something. Not as a part of an organization, just you.
Right.
And again, I have a lot of kids on the west side. They see, there go Mr. Brown coming.
Yeah.
But those relationships last as well. Again, shout out to my students in Durham, North Carolina as well. All my former students up there, because to this day they reach out if I'm up there and they see me riding. Oh snap! There goes Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown.
But again, that's something too, because also, they're still young people. They might be out of school now. They might have graduated from high school. They might be in college. Shoot, I have kids who have graduated from college. I've been doing this since 2006 now, man. But when that happens, you're seeing violence that impacts them too.
Okay.
As young parents, as well. Now a child has lost a father, a mother. You see something on social media, a teacher in one of my old district reach, hey, you hear about, such and such? Yeah, they just passed. Somebody kicked in the door to their house. Or, and it's like, this is not what you see this is not what you think as an educator. Oh man, one of my students, they're not going to die in a car accident, or God forbid something happened, a house fire or sickness or something. It's murder. It's violence, and it's not what you want. And so it's crazy because in my classes, of course, I'm going to teach that curriculum, but I still try to throw in some life lessons with my students. We still talk a little bit here and there. And I love the fact that in social studies, we can talk those current events. We can talk things that are going on in our community, in our state, in our nation. And we can tie those in to standards as well.
That's right.
But it hits hard. It hits hard when it hits home.
That's
and
right.
being in the school systems that we're in, it's starting to hit home a lot more often.
That's right. That's
and
right.
It's a huge impact, that you wake up like, hey man, I gotta go and I gotta strap up and
wow.
I gotta get kids ready for this district formative assessment tomorrow that my students are going to take.
Yeah.
When I was just telling you that I just found out that I lost one of my former students, 18 years old. I taught him in 2016.
Wow. You're just finding out. Man, Mr. Brown. So, Mr. Brown, we've this topic right now it has been one of the more heavier topics that I've
Absolutely.
discussed on this show. All right. So what I want to do, I want to lighten it a little bit.
Okay.
I want to lighten it a little bit. I want to lighten it a lot for right now because I'm gonna have you back on because you say you're a social studies person who teaches social studies, so you can have a valid opinion on a variety of topics. So I'll have you on in the show for the future. But I remember when I was in college, two things that I found you very passionate about. And if you want to talk about them, fine. You don't have to.
All right.
Music,
yes,
and soccer.
Absolutely.
I know nothing about soccer. I wish I had played soccer when I was younger. So we got about 4 minutes, 10 seconds.
Okay.
Talk about your interest in soccer right now because you know that may spark somebody watching this show say, man, I want to play soccer. Go ahead. Talk to me.
I love soccer. Soccer was my very first sport I ever played. I started playing at 4 years of age in Macon, Georgia. Man, oh man.
I know Pele. I know the name Pele.
Oh man, shoot! I wanted to be Pele when I was a kid, but I played throughout high school, a little ball in school and all that. I went on. I actually played in China a little bit.
Wow!
Later on in time,
international soccer star, you all.
No, I was not a star, man. I played in a little whack league on the weekends, but okay. I had a lot of fun. And actually, I started coaching when I started teaching. I began coaching soccer.
Okay.
And again, that's something, trying to expose, our young kids to, the beautiful game. Right. I'm an Arsenal supporter through and through, so I know all about losses. Sometimes we're up, sometimes we're down. We never all the way at the top, but we get close. So yes. I love the game of soccer. It taught me a lot about leadership. It taught me a lot about working with other people, finding that common goal, and reaching our potential.
Okay.
You're on good teams. You're on bad teams. The goal is to get better.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. Okay.
And when you start talking about music, I was crazy about music, man. I love it. I love playing guitar.
Your brother had a guitar? Yeah, I love it. Your brother had a guitar?
My hands on. I'm gonna try to play. I'm gonna try to squeeze something out of. It might not sound good, but to me, man, I thought I was the best thing in the world when I jumped on a guitar. In my head, I was just, man. If somebody could rap over it, it was over. It was over.
Look. He mentioned rap. He's not gonna say it, but yeah, he had the mean flow. Now he could flow. Now I look.
He back too.
So we're not gonna get into. We're not gonna. Right. Some people may. But he has a spirit of art inside of him. I will say. You see in the background, he just told me this. This painting in the background is what 20 years old, probably 15 at least.
Man, at least 15. 15. Almost 20
okay.
Years. Yeah.
So Mr.
One
Brown,
of my really good friends, Rhonda, painted this. Rhonda Coons from Macon, Georgia. She's an artist, and she painted this. It wasn't finished. I was like, I want it now. I want it now. And it's been everywhere that I have lived over, the past umpteenth years. You will always see this where I dwell. Absolutely.
Mr. Brown, you've gotten thumbs up on Facebook. Thank you to Pernita Taylor. You got your heart from Donnie Glover. Donnie Glover is the one who started this Black USA News. Thank you to Donnie. Donnie saw something in me and brought me onto the network. So once again, thank you, Donnie. And you also got somebody who named Amma Chandra. They hugging. It's a yellow circle hugging a heart. So you got 3, and you got somebody. Yeah. So you're getting love on this platform right now. And the reason I brought up those last 2 points, and I'll reiterate, we opened the show up talking about some real dire stuff. We started talking about death and youth. All right. And so I didn't want the audience to see that as when they see you, that's the guy who talk about. No, I want to humanize you because I'm gonna bring you back, man. Yes, and so I know you're a busy guy. You told me I got 30 minutes. I'm gonna keep it at 30. So once again, this is Robaer Washington. You're watching the Robaer Report. I look forward to seeing you all once again next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. We're gonna have Mr. Brown back once again. Mr. Brown, shout out your wife, man. Shout out your father and mother. I love your father and mother. Go ahead,
Janella
shout them out,
Williams
man.
Brown, my wife, my beautiful wife, my support, my rock, my everything. Shout out to my parents, Ralph and Bessie Brown from my mom from Starkville, Mississippi, my dad from West Point, Mississippi. Good to Smith Bottom, West Point, Mississippi. My sister Tiffany Brown Hall, my brother-in-law Willie Hall, my two nephews Jackson Coiteroy and Willie Hall the third. We call him Hershey. A lot of love to you guys. A lot of love to family and friends. And thank you so much for having me on your show, Brother Robaer. I love you, man. This has been great. Continue to have much success, and I hope I'm back, man.
You know it. And thank you so much, Mr. Brown. Once again, this is the Robaer Report, where we talk to individuals and their contributions to society. Thank you so much. Have a good day, you all, and see you all next Monday. Peace.